let's start working on our third polish pass. Going back to our perspective cam, before we show the controls, let's go ahead and adjust our range a little bit here so that our start is at about frame 100 and the end is about 244, just so we can see what's happening here as we move into this next pass. So if we were to go ahead and hit play, you can see that, alright, the rhythm is happening at, it seems to happen at one constant beat. There's no break to the rhythm, and we don't want a constant rhythm because it wouldn't, the animation wouldn't then feel natural. So we want to add a little bit of offset to the rhythm, we can say. Let's go ahead and show the character set. And let's go ahead and break up the rhythm a bit by having the character look more at us, okay, for a little bit longer, okay, before he gets into this part where he fixes his belt. Okay, so he's almost looking at us, thinking about what he's going to do to correct this, and then he figures out his exit as he's doing everything else. So we'll select the keys from frames 170. We'll shift select all the way to about 193 or 94 or so, 194. We'll grab all of these keys in our selection, and let's go ahead and move them down a few more frames. So we could have that first key now lie on frame 179. So now what we get is a little bit break in the rhythm. If we hit play, looks at us, okay, just long enough so that we can really see his expression, and then he goes into the next part of the animation. Alright, now let's go ahead and turn off our character set, and we'll show our controls and start tweaking the animation so we can see what's happening to the hands here as he's pulling up the pants. Before we even adjust the hands, let's make sure we like the timing of him actually pulling up the belt. Hit play. Alright, and that's actually pretty good. What we could even do is select the hip and go into our graph editor and look at the translate Y key just to see if we like the timing here. Okay, so we'll need to adjust this part as he is lifting up his belt. What we can do is select the hands, or we could start with the left arm, and let's correct the pose on about 194. Okay, notice the follow switch. We'll go ahead and set a key with the follow set to the hip here, and just before that we'll have it set to the world. We're gonna do like a, let's say a frame by frame switch here, where at one frame we'll have it so that the hands are prepared to grab the belt, and by 184, excuse me, they have grab the belt. Okay, we'll want to animate it and pose it in a way where it looks seamless. Okay, so on 184 we'll go there. We'll fix the hands so that they're on the watchman's belt. Okay, just roughly get that hand position where it needs to go. And we can look at the elbow, maybe bring that back, and also adjust the shoulder on the same frame. Alright. And then now that that's done, on 183, we'll select the hand and have it prepare to lift the pants up. So we'll bring the arm down. So let me even adjust the graph editor so we can see it, what's happening in the scene a little bit clear. And then we'll rotate the hands out as they prepare to lift the belt up. Let's see if this is going to work for us. Alright, the hand might be a little bit too far from the hip on 183, so we could bring it in a little bit closer and down. And then what we also want to make sure we do on 181, let's go ahead and look at the follow switch. I want to make sure we don't have any keys we don't want. So we could select the key in 181 and let's delete that. Much better. Now he looks like he's actually pulling up his belt buckle or his belt. Excellent. Great. And notice that it looks seamless now. Alright, so let's go ahead and do the same thing for the right hand. Okay, we could have this happen on, let's say to add a little bit of offset, we have the hands on the hip at 183. So we'll set the follow switch. We'll set a key on 183 of the hip. And right before that, 182, we'll set it to the world, the hand to the world. Okay, and then we'll go to this key on 181 for this hand and just delete that key. And now what we need to do, or the next step, is going to be to have the character actually have his hands on the belt at that time. So we will adjust the hand so that that does happen. What we'll also need to do, once we have this generally where we like it, is to adjust the fingers as well, from where the character looks at us to where he's doing this part of the animation. So here's what we get. Alright, and it's almost there. It looks like on 182 we can definitely fix the arm here. So we'll select that, just bring it down, maybe a little bit closer to the belt, and fix the rotation. Let's see how this looks. Great. Wonderful. So this is all coming together quite well. What we're actually going to have him do after he lifts up his pants is to even adjust his hat. So we'll actually add another pose in there afterwards. We have enough time to do that. Okay. So let's go ahead and look at this before we even get to that section. We could even hide the curves, go to the shot camera, and again hit play. Great. This is all coming together quite well. So, going back to our perspective, we'll show our curves, and let's say we adjust the fingers, okay, to have them open a little bit more before he lifts up his pants, and then we'll stop the lesson after that and continue on with our third pass in the next. So for this, can go to about, let's say, 179 for this right hand, and we'll just open up the fingers here. And then make them look a little bit more interesting. Maybe after opening them up about so, we'll go ahead and take the ring and pinky, maybe bring that down. Possibly bring the pinky down a little bit more, or even up. We could just experiment with this. Maybe bring the pinky up and then bring the index finger up, just to give fingers a more interesting look. And then for the thumb, we can adjust that as well, so that looks a little bit more interesting. Maybe bring it down in the Z. Alright, great. So that looks a little bit better. And then with this pose, what we can actually do is, since if we like this, and rather than having this linear type of motion here, where it goes from just the hands at a normal position to where we've just offset them, what we can do is actually use a little bit of this movement that we're getting. Let's see, we even go to 170, and we add that pose on about 145, where he looks at the cardboard cutout. That might make for an interesting type of look in the hand. So we'll go to frame 170, middle click on about 145, okay, and simply press S to lock in the pose for the hands there. Now they look a little bit more interesting. Great. And notice the timing as he now lifts up his belt. That's looking much better. So we'll do the same thing for the left hand, something similar, and we'll then move on to the next lesson after. So let's say we go here to about 180. We'll open up the fingers again. And once we have opened them up, again, we'll give them an interesting look here. See what happens if we bring down the mid finger, maybe bring up the root of the index finger, spread that out a bit more, and then again bring down the pinky and both the AZ and BZ. And then from there we can select the pinky and index, mainly the roots, and bring those down, but not too much. And then we could adjust the thumb after that. Adjust it in the Y, bring it down in the Z. And it looks like we could even move up the index finger a little bit more. So that looks a little bit interesting. And then let's even look at this in our shot camera. Okay, so we'd probably want to bring down the index here so we can actually see what's going on. Alright, so once we have a pose that we like, again we can do what we've done before. Let's say we actually take this pose that we set on about 180. We'll go to a few frames before that, maybe 171, and middle click perhaps on 143 just to add a little bit of offset, and press S to lock in the fingers there. Alright, great. And then again we'll look at this in our shot camera, hide our curves, and just hit play to see how this is all coming together. Alright, great, that looks better. Alright, well, let's go ahead and stop the lesson here and continue polishing this third section in the next.